Okay, and the last deformer is a bevel. Okay, we have two kind of the bevels that they are exactly similar to each other in settings, but they are in a different way. The first bevel is used for mesh modeling tools. For example, if I make the editable that cube and access to its edges in a component, and he will right click and I can access a bevel here. It's a different bevel here. That's a bevel tool. If you click and drag, you can access to all of those settings that exactly on the bevel deformer. This is bevel tool. These two common have two different main difference between them. One is the first one is have to assign to the editable modeling, and the more important thing is if you click anywhere or end tool, you cannot go back and edit that. Everything is finished. It's bad. But in a bevel deformer, you can assign the bevel to parametric objects, the first mode. You can use a lot of generator here beside the deformer. Because it's a deformer, you can use other deformer to access that and work with it. And most important properties of the bevel is you can go back and edit anytime that you want. So simply click and drag it under the cube. The axis of the bevel is not important where is that, but everything I like to everything be organized and the axes are matched to each other, so you can holding shift. But if you don't hold shift, it's not matter. Okay, we are going to the option shaping and topology. First we begin with the component mode. It means, as you can see, we have no access to point, edge and other things, but I explain you how to access them. First we begin with the component mode. You can going and bevel a point. If you go into bevel point, some of the options will be disabled, and just we have an offset here. You can offset it. As you can see, if I bevel a point is here, it looks like this. You can add subdivision to that bevel in a point. We are going in the point mode, and you can change the depths like this. And a limit, if it's automatically tick, if you deactivate it, if you change the offset more than the number that need, as you can see, they are intersect with each other. If you hit limit, don't issue will not happen. Okay, the other mode I will be explaining with edges. Here you can set selection a point here. For example, I just want to assign the bevel to that point, just that point, for example. Turn off the bevel for a moment, and I want to access a point and edge and face of that parametric object. As I said before, as you learn in the previous lesson, you can do it with the corrections. So click and drag a correction under a cube as a child. First, we need the correction, execute correction, and then the bevel. The hierarchy is important. If you go to correction, you can go to the point, edge, and you now access the point. For making with the bevels, we have to set selection. I explained the set selection, store the set selection. The set selection, go to the tag for correction. It's not correct. You have to click and drag it to the cube. Okay, it's important. Make it to the cube and then turn on the bevel. And as you can see, if you select the bevel in a selection, you can add any selection that you want. Okay, you can add any selection that you want. Here you can go and click and drag the selection to the point, and as you can see, just that point will be beveled. going that side. I want to go into the edge. Okay, as you can see, if going to the edge, we have no edge to bevel because I have to select the edge. If you want to access to all edge, you can delete that selection, and now we are beveling all edges. That I don't like. I want to select set selection. Go into the correction and go into the edge mode, or you can editable. That's not very important, but I want to tell you it's a correction. But if you editable that, you have to go always and set selection. For example, I select those three edges and set selection here, and go into the bevel. As I said before, it's going to the correction, bring it to the click and drag to the cube, going to the bevel. In the selection, you can drag it here, as you can see. If you're going to the point mode, we have that selection. If you go into edge mode, we have those selections. Interesting. So other important setting will be active, and here an offset, and here you can set subdivision, and this is our bevel. Interesting part is you can go into the cube and go into the model mode and change your model like this. It's interesting. And going to the bevel, we have the bevel mode here. I explained the use angle. Here the chamfer means rounding or solid. In a solid, it's just add, if you change the offset, it's just add lines. If you holding Alt and click on a subdivision surface, you can subdivide that. As you can see, I explained subdivision, what happens if we add a line to that. You can change the line to change the subdivision. If you turn off the subdivision, as you can see, we have a two line. They are too close to each other, and we have a little bending. If you go line too far from each other, however, it has more bending. I explained subdivision, you can refer to it, but here you can see it better. Turn it off, you can release it from the subdivision. I want to explain the offset mode, changing bit proportional and fixed distance. The fixed distance means, for example, if you want to chamfer, you can go with the solid or chamfer. From this edge, this bevel add two line here that the exact number, there are in the fixed direction. For example, 20 number from here and 20 centimeter from here. It's not important. Okay, you can change it any number. But if you select a proportional, as you can see, this face and this face are in a different size, and you can change it more. If you select proportional, as you can see, the changing the distance of the line will be proportional. Because of this face is two line, this edge goes far away from that edge. Because this face is small, it is going a small distance. This is proportional. If you hold in chamfer, you can see it like this. For better understanding those, I choose a solid here. Okay, you can go into the fixed distance. Radial. What is the radial? Go into the chamfer, and here radial. Radial change these angles. Okay, radial. You can go in this side. The radial means this rounding is exactly a sphere or a circle. If you fix distance, it's not exactly a circle. If you want to good rounding, make it radial. Okay, those are the settings. And important settings is use angle. I explained that with another thing, and cylinder. I insert a cylinder here. That's good. I make it editable and holding shift and use the bevel. As you can see, it's automatically bevel that edge only. Why is that? Because we use angle and we have a threshold angle. As you can see, we have a lots of edge. If you deactivated the use angle, as you can see, we have a lots of edge to bevel. Okay, as you can see, you can turn off the bevel. All of edge will be bevel. But if you use angle, you can limit the beveling in that object. It means you can change the angle threshold. For example, this number means just bevel the edges that has the angle above that radius, that degree. For example, 40 degree. If you set it to 19, for example, and more, as you can see, bevel disappear, because this is an edge that it's beveled. The surface between them, the angle is exactly as you can see. You can change here. The angle is 19 degree. It says please bevel the edges that the angle is above 91 degree. So we have nothing. The 40 means the angle above that 40. So this is 90 and bevel it. You can so restrict the beveling with this angle. So you insert any number here and any degree here. The above that degree, it will be bevel. That's it. Okay, this is another example about that important thing. Okay, going back to that bevel. This is edge and everything. And now we are going to the polygon. In a polygon, we are another tab add here polygon extrusion. The polygon extrusion, you can holding shift to add tab to this number. If you want to select that, you have to select that here. But if you want to select both of them, you can holding shift and activate that tabs. Okay, now I want to add another selection to edges. For example, go into the correction. I want to select those two surfaces and set selection. Store the selection, click and drag it to the cube and go into the bevel. We are in a polygon mode and click and drag the polygon mode here, and we have the bevel. The surface bevel means the bevel the edges around that. It's simple. But we have something polygon extrusion. You can change the extrusion like this. You can, I explain the max angle now, then preserve group in another example, but this is a bevel in a polygon. We have all those settings like before, like this is like edge. As you can see, as you know, the surface create from, for example, in this surface 4 edges, and it means you select 4 edges and bevel them, just 2 edges. But I want to explain the max angle, and in here we are going to bring a plane here, make it editable, select for example those two, go into the material, give it, give a material to that black material. Okay, select those two and set selection. Because we are using bevel deformer, we need selection. For example, if you don't set selection, all of the surfaces will be beveled and you cannot see anything. And then holding shift and make it bevel, because the bevel has to be child of the object. Going to the bevel, we have the selection, going to the polygon. As you can see, all of the polygon will be extrude and we don't know what is things. Going to the selections, click and drag, and just 4 surfaces will be extrude. And here the preserve group, it means the preserve those 4 edges in a group. If you deactivate it, as you can see, we have separate mode. You can add subdivisions and change the extrusion in or out, change the offsets like this. Okay, you can change the offset. As you can see, we have preserve group like this. If you tick at they're preserved in one group. And you can change extrusion like this. Okay, if you deactivate the preserved group, the max angle will be turned off. Okay, I explain the max angle here. As you can see in this mode, if I select those two edges, if you turn off the bevel, as you can see, those two surfaces has a 90-degree between them. And if I activate the bevel, as you can see, if I activate or deactivate the preserved group, it's nothing will happen. But I want to those faces to be, I want to extrude to each other, both of them in one group. So the max angle means the degree that you type here, above that you can preserve it group. So we have to make it degree in higher of 90, for example 91, and as you can see, you have to play this max angle. And because of it's 91, and because of this angle between those two surfaces 90, the preserved group will be work. We can turn the preserved group on or off. As you can see, those two surfaces that I selected merge to each other or preserve in one group, and they're in both of them we can change. Okay, if you change the angle, this is 90-degree and everything is clear, but in some cases for very complex angle, just play with that to your desired result. Okay, those are settings, nothing else. Here in the interesting part, we are going to the shaping. Okay, we are going shaping. We add a new object here, make it editable, go into the edge and set selection that, and give a bevel to that, holding shift and give a bevel. Go into the option, I want to edge, I want to add that edge and make it offset, make a lot of subdivision there, lot of subdivision. This is our bevel, it's clean. Going to the shaping, you can change the shape of the rounding, something called tension. What is the tension? If you go into the object, you can change the depths like this. You can all, for example, going, it changed like a circle, as you can see. It's the depths. But here you can change this, changing depths more than a circle. Here you can see it going very depths to that. This is a tension. If you want to more bending and curving in the depths, you can use a tension. In a user interesting part will happen here. You can, for example, turn off both of them, and as you can see, you can simply draw your shape here. Going that, very simple. This is graph editor. You can hold and click. I will explain graph editor. The graph editor use anywhere in the system for you, refer to them to learn it. And here you can draw any shape that you want. This is change the point to identify which one is which in here, and here you can change it. You draw a shape here, you can symmetry that. So you can see that it's a symmetry from this point. This is a symmetry point. You can change it. You can see this is a symmetry point, and here this is symmetry. And constant cross section, you can turn it on or off when we are going to the cross section. It's very hard to see, to show you what happened, but it's in a hard angle. If you use it in a hard angle, maybe I can do the example for you. I try that. Wait. Okay, the constant cross section will happen in the hard edges. We have I draw a spline and then extrude that, and I want to give the bevel to that. For giving to the bevel to that, you can hold and shift and give a bevel to that, but it's not very interesting. As I said before, you have to make a null and bring them, both of them, under the null and the bevel assigned to the that. But turn off the bevel. I want to access the edge of that. You can simply go in editable that. It's not important for me. And you select all of those selection and delete, going to the edge, and I access to, oops, I'm drawing something. Going to the selection and select those 3 edges and selection as before. Okay, turn off the bevel, going to the edge and select that edges. Okay, I want to give a bevel to that. We have more offsets and subdivisions. Going to shaping and user. You can draw a user here. I hope, can I show you that? Okay. As you can see, it's constant cross section. It tried to constant it if you turn it off or on. Unfortunately, it's, I can show it here, but it's an issue. It's an issue that this tick is that this option will be corrected. I think the scenario 4 in this version is completely do its job very clean and complete. Okay, but you learn something more. Okay, delete that. In here, I can draw my. You can draw a shape here, draw a spline, or you can draw a spline. You can go into the profile and drop a spline here. For doing that, I'm going to insert, for example, a spline here as a profile. I insert a flower, make it smaller. 2 things will be it's very important. The most important part, the axis has to be upward here. Don't change the axis, just that's it, correct. And it's not important, it's completely give its correction, give this profile any edge that you want. Just the y-axis is up, everything is correct. And the important part is your profile has to be open. Make it editable and go into the point mode, and you can go and delete those edges. You have to right click and delete edges, and after that it will open and you can delete those points. Okay, those point, and this is okay. And I want to make this spline as a profile to our edges. That's everything. That's nice. So it has to be open and the axis is up. Okay, going back to the bevel, and you can click and drag a flower to the profile spline. As you can see, it's done. What happened? Because our offset is very low, it's a high number, and you can reduce the offset to make exactly at the profile of this. It's important. And interesting thing is that you can go that profile in a point mode and change the points. Interesting. This is profile. So with changing the offset, you can control the profiles. You can change the depths, anything here. Going to the edge again and shaping here profile. If everything is correct, you don't need to change the profile plane. But if it's if you see the plane is very odd, unnormal, like this, change the plane to correct it. So make sure that is open and the y-axis is up, and that's it. The cross section, if you tick that, make sure that in the hard angle everything is correct. That's it. I will be explaining the topology in its tool in a mesh modeling. I will be explaining next lesson. That's it. You can use a bevel. I have to give another interesting example of bevel. You can add it to the booleans. It's interesting. For example, I insert two cube and boolean them. I explain the boolean here. You can click and drag and go under the boolean, and you can A union B. You can add a bevel at the edges like this. For giving the bevel, you don't need to hold in shift, just go in the bevel, insert the null object and insert under the bevel, and everything is correct. But something is wrong here. Going to the bevel, going to option, you can change the offset and the subdivision, and as you can see, this connection between object does not bevel, because you have to go into the bevel, and important is create single object. If you click it's create a single object, as you can see, we have a bevel at the connections. Important and interesting part is you can change the shape of the booleans anytime that you want, and the bevel is added to it and change it. It's nice and interesting. Or you can add a bevel to, for example, text, 3D text. Here you can change it bold. You can add a bevel to that if you want. Here we haven't bevel in cap, but I want to test it here. Make it a bevel, going behind that, and everything is correct. You can simply go in bevel. If you see something is open, use the connection. Okay, use the connect to that. Okay, it's a bevel. It's a very interesting deformer, and all of deformer will be finished. I hope you enjoy the deformers. And after that, you're going to mesh modeling and all of its interesting tools in the mesh. We explain all of those tools one by one.
Hello my friends, to continue these tutorials on YouTube, subscribe us, like us, and hit the bell icon. And now you will be alerted about all of the amazing videos that we release.